This podcast is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to Legend of the Bones. Following in the footsteps of giants, Legend of the Bones is a chimera. A mix of old-school tabletop RPG and dark fantasy storytelling. As its name might suggest, in Legend of the Bones the dice rule. There'll be no rerolls, no fudging the dice, no metacurrency. The roll of the bones will determine the character's destiny, and no one will be spared their fate. None shall escape the destiny of bone. Last time on Legend of the Bones. The companions, having opened the portal to the inner vault, descended down a dark stairway into the heart of the mountain, until they came to a cavern in which was an underground lake. A narrow bridge spanned the water, but as the companions traversed its length, Valen tripped, dropping the enchanted moonstone which lit their way. Beric managed to save the gemstone from falling into the water, but after entering the tunnel beyond, Talion witnessed the tentacles of an ancient horror emerging from the lake, searching for prey where the companions had stood just moments earlier. Continuing on, the tunnel ended at a T-junction, where a pentacle was carved into the floor, at whose points were symbols of the 5 dark gods. Unable to glean a clue as to which path to tread, Beric flipped a coin, which led the party to go right. The passage shortly ended at a chamber with 2 exits, and part of its wall collapsed, perhaps into a cave beyond. But further exploration needed to wait, because the room was guarded by a champion of the Dark Gods, the Reaver of Varlak, an evil warrior sent back from Hell to protect the rift at Pemelki. A swift battle ensued, with the companions quickly gaining the upper hand, until the Reaver dealt a grievous wound to Beric with his infernal axe, Soul Cleaver, which threatened to claim part of the warrior's soul. Though down on his knees, Beric was, however, able to resist the effect, and just as the Reaver raised his axe for the killing blow, Beric rose up, thrusting Callous Cledder into his enemy's head, sending him back to hell. Chapter 63, Part 1, Day 61, Night. Party status: Beric, 35 out of 53 hit points. Lena, 34 out of 34 hit points. Valen, 20 out of 21 hit points. Talion, 32 out of 32 hit points. Spells available: Valen has memorized Charm Animal, Shield, Soothe, Revive, Clairvoyance, Ignite, and Dragon's Breath. Talion has memorized Resolve, Poetic Prose, Pitch, Imbue, and Lullaby. Lena can pray for 1 first-level miracle, 2 second-level miracles, 2 third-level miracles, 1 fourth-level miracle, and 1 fifth-level miracle. Callous Cledder clattered to the floor with a harsh metallic ring, as Beric let the blade fall from his grasp, his limbs trembling, heavy with exhaustion and blood loss. He dropped to his knees on the cold stone, his broad chest rising and falling with great ragged breaths. For a fleeting moment, he felt only fatigue. But then the adrenaline ebbed, and agonizing pain surged in its place, searing from the savage wound on his shoulder. He let out a low, guttural groan as blood ran in rivulets down the sleeve of his mail and soaking the fabric of his tunic. It dripped rhythmically from his fingers, to a crimson pool on the stone below. The edges of his vision swam, and the chamber around him tilted and wavered. Lena's voice was distant, hazy and dreamlike. He was only vaguely aware of the cleric's presence as she knelt beside him.
Soli, Lord of Life.
Her words floated to him, blurred and muffled, as if carried underwater.
Ah!
He thought he heard her cry out. Then, suddenly, from the heart of the wound, a soothing sensation bloomed, cool and numbing. The pain began to ease, as if drawn from his body by invisible hands. His limbs felt lighter, his vision cleared, strength returned to his muscles. He turned his head. Lena's hand was pressed firmly to his shoulder, her lips moving in silent prayer. He placed his large, calloused hand gently atop hers. She opened her eyes, startled yet calm.
"Thank you."
His voice came out rough and thick. Lena gave only a solemn nod, withdrawing her hand to reveal a faint bruise where the torn flesh had gaped just moments before. With a soft grunt, Lena braced herself under Beric's arm, helping the warrior to his feet. He swayed slightly, steadied by her support. His gaze drifted to where the Reaver had fallen. There was no body, only the dark heap of his armour, the tattered remains of his clothing, and a pair of boots laid out like a husk. Nearby, the Reaver's axe rested upon the ground, its head gleaming faintly in the torchlight. Soft whispers, barely audible, weaved their way through the air. They slithered into Beric's ears, irresistible, luring. A hunger stirred within him, as his eyes fixed on the axe. Without understanding why, he suddenly felt drawn to it, an inexplicable urge to grasp it. It was his now, rightfully earned, a gift of power, a hero's weapon. The world faded around him. Their task, his friends, the chamber itself. Only the axe remained. He stepped forward, hand stretching, fingers eager to claim his prize.
"No, Beric!"
A sharp cry shattered the spell. Beric froze mid-step, the fog lifting from his mind. He turned his head, blinking rapidly, his eyes locked with Valen's.
"I can feel its dark power, and such artifacts rarely benefit those who possess them. We should leave it be."
The mage's voice was low and measured. Beric glanced back at the axe, then slowly nodded, the realization of what had nearly passed dawning on him. The stillness broke with the sudden clatter of rocks tumbling behind them. The companions all spun, instinctively reaching for their weapons once again. From the jagged opening, where the chamber wall had partially collapsed, a pale face emerged, half hidden in the shadow. The face of a young woman, watching silently from the dark. Well, a lot happened in that last narrative segment. Off mic, I rolled for Lena to pray for the miracles of Cure Serious Wounds and Cure Light Wounds to heal Beric. The results were both a success, and Beric was healed for a total of 16 hit points. The last dice roll you heard was Beric successfully making a save versus spell to resist the lure of the Reaver's cursed axe. I can't understate the importance of that roll. If he had failed, The axe would have compelled Beric to attack his friends, and that could have been catastrophic. But fortunately, the dice gods were once again smiling on the party. Let's hope that continues. As for the woman the companions have encountered, I'm going to make a reaction roll. Unbeknownst to the characters, this woman has a connection to Lena. As such, I'm going to increase the cleric's charisma bonus to 2 for the purpose of this encounter. Here is the roll on 2d6. Higher is better. A modified 9. That's possibly friendly. Time for another roll. Another modified 9. On a second roll, that is definitely friendly. Okay then, let's get back to the narrative. Chapter 63, Part 2, Day 61, Night. Party status. The party status is unchanged, except that Beric has been restored to 51 out of 53 hit points, and Lena can no longer pray for any first level or fourth level miracles. The young woman's eyes widened in panic at being discovered. She retreated hastily, shrinking back into the darkness. The companions glanced at one another in bafflement, startled by the woman's presence. Then, with slow deliberation, Lena lowered her warhammer, slipping it into its belt hoop. The cleric raised a steadying hand, silently urging the others to stand down, her calm gaze offering reassurance. She turned to Valen and extended her hand with quiet intent. Instinctively understanding, without a word he passed her the moonstone. Drawing a breath, Lena approached the opening. Her heartbeat quickened with each step closer to the gap. It may have been foolhardy. After all, she knew not if the woman was a threat. But in that fleeting moment, when their eyes had met, something stirred within her. A flicker of recognition. Lena crouched low. A faint breeze blew gently through the opening, cool and fresh. A welcome relief from the fetid, decay-ridden air of the vault. She held the moonstone aloft, letting its light spill into the darkness beyond. A natural cave tunnel stretched out before her, the pale light glistening off the slick walls. Stalactites and stalagmites grew out of the ceiling and floor, reaching for each other like the teeth of some monstrous maw, while water that had found its way through invisible cracks in the mountain pooled onto natural shelves. Lena swallowed, hoping she had not walked into a trap.
Have no fear.
She called aloud, her voice echoing down the tunnel.
We are friends. We mean you no harm.
There was no reply, yet instinct told her that the woman lingered nearby, hidden beyond the reach of the light, watching from the darkness with wary eyes.
My name is Lena of Godsport.
She introduced herself, her voice clear.
I am a humble servant of the Nine.
She brought the moonstone closer to her face, letting its radiance illuminate her features, an offering of trust. But the same light now partially obscured her vision. She was preparing to speak again, when a flicker of motion caught her eye, just beyond a particularly large stalagmite a few paces ahead.
Lena?
The voice was a breath, soft and disbelieving. Lena moved to the light, so she could once again see unhindered. There, emerging slowly into the light, stood a young woman, gaunt and weary. Her garments were worn, but relatively clean, yet she had the look of someone who had not eaten for several days. Despite that, a pair of bright eyes now regarded Lena with a mixture of disbelief and fragile hope. The woman stepped into full view, hesitating, as if wary that the cleric were nothing more but a figment of her imagination. She must have decided that Lena was indeed real, for she quickened her pace.
Lena!
The name burst from her lips with new conviction. Lena was suddenly flooded with recognition. Those delicate features, though now older, were unmistakable.
Eadith!
She cried out in wonder. With a swift motion, the cleric squeezed through the narrow opening, just as the woman reached her. Eadith flung her arms around Lena's neck, sobbing with abandon. Tears streamed from Lena's eyes as well, and for a long moment they held each other tightly. A joyful reunion in the darkest of places. Eadith pulled back at last, her face filled with wonder as she looked into the eyes of the cleric.
I had all but given up hope.
Her voice trembled, thick from the tears. Lena took Eadith's hands in her own, squeezing them gently and smiling.
Hope is the light when all other lights go out.
You may recall from way back in episode 19 that Father Osbert recounted the story of Eadith, the young niece of the Elderman of Godsport, Lena's home city. As children, Lena and Eadith knew one another, but the Elderman's niece disappeared after she was accused of being a witch by none other than Reynard of Harburg, an accusation which led to the brethren being banished from the city on pain of death. Ever since that rather throwaway tale, I had the idea that Eadith would at some point reappear, and when Demelza emerged as the keeper of the Eye of Krevik, it gave me the perfect way to tie the threads together and make Eadith her apprentice. Eadith has been hiding in the caves beyond the wall's collapse for the past 3 weeks. How she came to be Demelza's apprentice remains to be seen, but for now, let's find out more about her abilities. I'm going to set Eadith's starting level at 1d4 plus 1. Okay, so she is a 4th level mage, meaning that she will have 3d4 plus 4 hit points. Let's roll those now. 14, not bad at all. Time to roll her ability scores. Given that her class as a mage is pre-established, I'm going to roll her stats off mic, and if necessary, swap the highest rolled score with intelligence to accommodate her class. Okay, I'm back. I had to switch strength and intelligence, but everything else is as rolled. Eadith's ability scores are as follows. Strength 8. That will be a -1 to hit and damage. Intelligence 15. This is a good score, but spellcasting is less intuitive for her than it is for Valen, and her casting is less likely to be successful. Eadith will also speak an additional language. As the niece of an Elderman, that's not unsurprising. I'll figure out which language later. Wisdom 12. Dexterity 13. As a mage, this will give her an important +1 to arm class. Constitution 10. And Charisma 14. Eadith will get +1 to reaction rolls. So apart from strength, these are a good set of scores. Now what about her spells? At 4th level, Eadith has access to 2 1st level spells and 2 2nd level spells. Let's see what she gets. At 1st level, a 3 and a 6. Okay, that is Flame and Sleep. And at 2nd level she has a 4 and a 5, which is Camouflage and Knock. 2 of those, Flame and Camouflage, are homebrew spells. I won't describe them now, but will do so when it becomes pertinent. If you are interested, however, you can find all the details of my homebrew spells at legendofthebones.blogspot.com. Okay then, let's get back to the narrative. Chapter 63, Part 3, Day 61, Night. Party status. The party status is unchanged, except that Eadith has 14 out of 14 hit points, and has memorized the spells flame, sleep, camouflage, and knock. The moonstone glimmered faintly off the limestone walls, its silvery light casting shifting reflections off the damp stone. Eadith moved carefully but confidently, leading the way between tall, smooth stalagmites that rose like ancient sentinels from the tunnel floor. Her footsteps made only the softest sounds, sure and practiced on the uneven terrain that she clearly knew well. Before long, the passage widened, and the group emerged into a vast subterranean chamber. At the far side, at least a quarter of the space was taken up by a still, motionless body of water, its surface a dark mirror, only broken by the occasional drip, rippling out in concentric circles. The companions paused, taking it in with wary awe. They supposed it must be an extension of the underground lake that they had crossed earlier. Talion felt his palms dampen. Some way back from the water's edge, nestled among the smooth rock, was a pack and a scattering of belongings. A rope, a broken lantern, and the remnants of a cold camp. It was here that Eadith came to a halt, lowering herself onto a natural shelf. She gestured for the others to do likewise.
It's safe here.
She spoke with quiet reassurance. The companions, weary from their recent trials, sank to the stone around her. Lena unslung her pack, and after a brief search, retrieved a few rations wrapped in cloth, strips of salted pork and slices of dried apple. She offered them to Eadith, who accepted them with a nod and whispered thanks. Eadith ate quickly, her hunger stark. She chewed with the desperation of someone long without sustenance, and when offered more, she took it without hesitation. As Eadith ate, Lena turned to the others, her voice quiet but clear in the vast chamber. She spoke of her past with Eadith, tracing the thread of their shared history. Then she turned back and recounted the companion's tale. The shipwreck, the Brethren, and their quest to stop the fanatics from obtaining the Hellstones. At the mention of the cult, and especially Reynard of Harburg, a shadow passed over Eadith's face. Her skin paled further, and her eyes darkened with something between fear and fury.
That is a name I hoped I would never hear again,
she said grimly, each word sharp with memory. Then after a pause, she added,
Demelza kept our purpose here secret.
We know.
Lena interrupted softly, prompting a flicker of confusion across Eadith's face.
We found your diary.
The cleric turned her gaze to Valen, who silently reached into his pack and withdrew the small book. He offered it to Eadith, who took it gently, reverently, as though holding a piece of herself, long thought lost.
It was the same for me.
Valen's voice was low and heavy with understanding.
I knew nothing of the Hellstones, nor that my master was the keeper of the Eye of Mordgun, until after the Brethren had murdered him.
Lena briefly placed a comforting hand upon Valen's arm, before turning once more to Eadith, her expression soft with concern.
How came you to be in this cave, Eadith?
When I came looking for Demelza, the warrior you killed attacked me.
Her voice grew quieter, and her eyes distant, as if the memory had drawn her inward.
His axe struck the wall, causing the collapse. I slipped through the gap to escape. He tried to follow, but could not. As if he was bound to the chamber and unable to leave.
How fortunate.
Lena observed, pulling Eadith back from the echo of the past.
At first, yes. But then I was trapped here.
She said bitterly.
My lantern broke during my escape, and I ran out of food within days. I would sometimes creep back to the chamber, hoping the warrior had left, else fallen asleep. But always he remained, waiting, watching, taunting me to come and meet my death.
Eadith's voice faltered, her composure cracking. Her eyes were wet with unshed tears. The strain of her solitude and fear, long held back, now unable to be contained.
In my despair, I thought to drown myself.
The words came in a whisper. She cuffed away the tears and sniffed.
But when I leaned over the water, it was not my own reflection that stared back at me.
She paused, trembling slightly.
It was the face of an old man.
Valen sat forward at this, a flicker of understanding in his eyes.
And you communed with the spirit?
Eadith turned her gaze to the other mage, her eyes meeting his with a strange intensity.
He told me not to give in to despair, that a light from my past would become my saviour, and among their companions would be one that they loved, someone who, like me, bore the gift of the sight.
Valen's lips curled into a wry, wistful smile. He exhaled quietly, then murmured under his breath,
Amos.
The basic expert rules have no mention of any requirement to sleep every day, but it stands to reason that characters who press on without sleep would start to incur penalties, which ultimately would lead to crippling exhaustion. So given that their companions are in a place of relative safety, I'm going to have them rest for the night. Having said that, with her only access to light being the first level spell, Flame, Eadith has not been able to fully explore the cavern, and what she does not know is that there is a narrow, hard-to-find tunnel leading deeper into a network of caves. On that basis, I'm going to roll for a wandering encounter. A roll of 1 or 2 means there will be something. A 5. The night passes without event. I wonder though whether any of the companions might think to look for other exits from the cavern. As a man of action, Beric is the most likely to do so. I am going to roll a wisdom check for the warrior to see. Beric will need to roll equal or less than his wisdom of 9. A 16. On another note, as we have already established, the 5th Warden of Pemelkine lost his protective talk, which led to his corruption. There is, therefore, a possibility that Eadith may have found it. Let's ask the Oracle. Has Eadith found the talk? A 5. That's a straight yes. The talks have multiple purposes. Firstly, as we have seen, they offer the wearer a degree of protection against energy-draining attacks. Secondly, we know from the ritual scroll found by Valen that the talks are used in said ritual, possibly due to the first purpose. Their final use, when brought together, is to unlock a secret door back at the T-junction where the pentacle was carved into the floor. This provides a shortcut through the inner vault. That being the case, I'm going to say that there is a possibility that Valen may have an inkling to that effect. I'm going to make an intelligence check for the mage, but at a -4 penalty, meaning that Valen will need to roll a 13 or less to succeed. A 1! Well then, it would seem that a good night's rest has given the mage a flash of inspiration. Chapter 63, Part 4, Day 62, Morning. Party status. All characters are now at full health and have their full complement of spells and miracles. Valen woke before dawn, as he did every day. Only this time, there were no stars in the curtain of night, no greying of the sky to the east, no chorus of songbirds to herald the day. Instead, there was only the blackness of the cavern, and a silence broken only by the occasional drip falling into the underground lake, and the soft rhythmic breathing of his slumbering companions. Such was the depth of their exhaustion, and on Eadith's reassurances of their safety, that the companions had chosen not to post any watches. Valen was relieved. The rest was sorely needed. Even so, Lena had not slept easily. She had tossed and murmured in her dreams, her brow creased with unseen terrors, no doubt troubled by the warden's assault on her mind. More than once he had drawn her into his arms, cradling her until the tremors had ceased and her sleep deepened, the shadows banished for a time. Valen quietly rolled up his bedroll and returned the blankets to his pack. He retrieved the moonstone from his pouch, its silvery glow banishing the nearby darkness and illuminating their makeshift camp. Carefully pulling his spellbook from his pack, he opened it and set about committing the spells to memory. He was just completing his meditations when a few feet away, the faint aura surrounding Eadith shimmered, and presently she stirred. She sat up, blinking slowly against the moonstone's glow. With a slow yawn, she pushed aside her blanket.
Good morning.
Valen's voice was quiet, his tone subdued and thoughtful.
Borodar.
Eadith replied softly, brushing a lock of hair from her face.
You speak, Valen.
The mage looked up, one eyebrow arched in surprise.
A few words, nothing more.
Eadith admitted modestly, offering a small smile.
I remember my uncle receiving one of your countrymen as an envoy.
She added by way of explanation. Valen gave a thoughtful nod, and a moment of stillness passed between them. The air between the two mages was quiet, but not without weight. The awkwardness was broken as Lena shifted in her sleep, drawing Valen's attention. He reached out, placing a hand tenderly on the cleric's exposed arm, until she settled once more. When he turned back, he caught Eadith watching. She said nothing, but her eyes lingered on him. Then something in his posture must have shifted, a tilt of the head perhaps, because her gaze dropped to his neck.
I have one too!
She exclaimed, as if recalling a long-forgotten memory. She began rifling through her pack, and a moment later produced a silver torque, its design identical to the one about the mage's throat. It gleamed softly, with the same arcane luminance. Valen leaned forward. Restrained excitement played across his features.
Where did you find that?
Later, once the companions had all awoken and broken their fast, they retraced their steps. Back along the cave tunnel they went, returning to the chamber where they had battled and slain the Reaver of Varlak. His armour and cursed axe still lay where they had fallen, while the scattered skulls looked on, grinning eternally in mockery of the Reaver's defeat. Leaving that infernal place behind, they made their way along the dark passage, back to the T-junction, where the pentacle was etched into the stone floor.
It was there.
Eadith pointed towards the pentacle, her finger hovering over the specific symbol that Lena had associated with the dark god Mordgren. Valen stepped forward, kneeling once more to examine the array. Each symbol was encircled by a narrow groove, something he had not noticed before. Now he saw that these grooves were precisely the same width as the bands of the torques. He reached up, removed the torque from about his neck, and set it gently into one of the grooves. He sensed a faint pulse from the metal as it slotted into place.
Give me the others,
he commanded, his voice calm but firm. One by one, the others removed their torques and handed them over. Valen slotted each into a groove until only the uppermost circle remained vacant. It faced the wall directly and he noticed now that a thin line, barely visible, etched its way from the empty groove to the base of the stone wall. Eadith stepped forward and handed him the final talk, their eyes meeting briefly. Valen inclined his head in acknowledgement, then turned and placed the talk into the groove. At once, every ring began to glow in a bright, steady white light. The companions stepped back instinctively as the light bled along the etched lines, illuminating the entire star with radiant energy. From the topmost point, the light surged towards the wall, tracing the outline of a concealed doorway that hitherto had escaped their notice. The outline flared to life. Then there came the sound of stone grinding upon stone. Dust shivered from the ceiling as the concealed door inched slowly open. Thank you for listening to Legend of the Bones. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you like what you've heard, then please consider rating and reviewing the show in your podcatcher of choice. Not only do I love seeing the feedback, but it really does help the show reach new listeners. As always, where would I be without my amazing cast of voice talent? A newcomer to the show, playing the role of Eadith, is Chloe Elliott. Chloe is an actor, singer, composer, and content creator, as well as being a cast member of A Deck of Many Aces, an actual play D&D podcast. I'll put Chloe's links in the show notes. You could also help by liking or reposting new episode announcements, or by recommending the show online or to a friend. You really can't beat the power of word of mouth. Finally, I would love to know what you think of the show, and I do respond to every message I receive. So with that in mind, you can contact me on X at LegendBones, Blue Sky at LegendBones, Mastodon at LegendBones at ttrpg-hangout.social, Instagram at LegendOfTheBones, email at legendofthebones@gmail.com, or go to legendofthebones.blogspot.com for show notes, house rules, character profiles, art, maps and more. Join me next time to find out what awaits our adventurers as the bones decide their fate. None shall escape the destiny of Bone.
We're here from Arrow Ace.
I'm Bastet. I'll be running your operation to investigate the unusual occurrences that have been happening everywhere recently.
Stay out of Antiborough. Stuck in time loop.
I guess it's a ghost plumbing situation.
Bastet has got us out of a lot of problems, but I don't think she can get us out of this one.
It wasn't all the bodies. There were 2 bodies.
Everyone else just got disappeared.
I went missing for a while and I lost my brother. I don't know where he is.
Oh, that's my mother. Oh dear.
It's the same mother that you keep describing as tyrannical and horrible.
Have to practice ritual fight with brother.
Ellie, can I make an insight check of myself but in real life?
Deck of Many Aces is an actual play podcast made by actual asexuals and aromantics. Check us out in your favourite podcast player and on social media at Deck of Many Aces.